Hello and welcome to KLM Institute.
Today, we're diving deep into one of the most controversial economic strategies under former President Donald Trump, his tariff plan. Specifically, we're looking at his approach to imposing tariffs on China and other countries. This strategy aimed to push back against China's aggressive trade practices, but it sparked a heated debate among economists and global leaders. In this video, we'll break down the pros and cons of Trump's tariff strategy, why economists have slammed it, the potential consequences for the US, and even how other countries like India and Europe could be affected. Plus, we'll explore whether Trump's policies were designed to benefit a select group of business moguls, including figures like Elon Musk. So, stay tuned for an engaging, in-depth analysis. What was Trump's tariff plan? Donald Trump's tariff plan was bold and aggressive. He proposed a 60% tariff on Chinese imports and a 10 to 20% tariff on goods from other countries. But why did he do this? Trump's primary goal was to reduce the U.S. trade deficit and push back against China for what he described as unfair trade practices. The idea was to make imported goods more expensive, encouraging U.S. consumers to buy domestic products instead. It was a drastic move aimed at reshaping global trade relations and strengthening American manufacturing. However, did it work? Let's break down the results. Why economists hate Trump's tariff plan. Many economists argue that Trump's tariffs, while well-intentioned, could lead to significant long-term economic damage. Here are the major reasons. 1. Consumer impact. Higher prices for Americans. The tariffs Trump imposed were essentially taxes that American consumers had to pay. Here's how it works. When tariffs are placed on imported goods, companies that rely on those imports face higher costs. To make up for these increased costs, companies often raise prices on their products. For example, if a 60% tariff is placed on Chinese electronics, American consumers will pay more for smartphones, laptops, and other gadgets. Economists estimate that these tariffs could cost U.S. households an average of $1,700 per year in higher prices. This burden mainly affects middle-class and low-income families who may already be struggling with the cost of living. 2. Job losses. Not all sectors win. Although Trump's tariffs were intended to create jobs, particularly in manufacturing, they also had a negative side. While industries like washing machine manufacturing saw a boost, many other sectors faced job losses. Economists predict that the tariffs could lead to the loss of over 684,000 U.S. jobs. Here's why. Higher tariffs raise production costs for industries that rely on imported parts or materials. Some companies may choose to move production overseas to avoid those costs, leading to job cuts in the U.S. 3. Cost per job. $815,000 per job created. The tariff strategy did lead to job creation in some areas, but it came at a very steep price. For example, in the case of washing machine manufacturing, the cost of creating one job was about $815,000. Think about it, to create one job, it would cost the U.S. economy nearly $1 million. This raises the question, is it worth it? 4. Economic slowdown in other industries. Tariffs don't just affect the industries directly targeted. They create a ripple effect across the economy. For example, industries that depend on imported parts or raw materials, such as electronics or automotive industries, may face higher costs. This can result in higher prices, lower profits, and potential job losses in those industries. The historical lesson: the chicken war and its relevance to Trump's tariffs. You might be wondering, what does the chicken war have to do with Trump's tariffs? Well, it's an important historical lesson. The chicken war was a trade dispute between the US and the European Union in the 1960s. It started as a temporary tariff on chicken imports but ended up dragging on for years, causing long-term negative effects on the economy. The key takeaway from this example is that once tariffs are imposed, they are difficult to remove. Industries that benefit from protection become resistant to change, and the trade war escalates. This is a crucial lesson for Trump's tariff plan. Although Trump intended for the tariffs to be a short-term fix, history suggests that these kinds of policies can have long-lasting consequences, including trade retaliation from other countries and economic slowdowns. What are the consequences of Trump's tariff plan for the US and beyond? Let's look at the broader consequences of these tariffs. The impact is not just limited to the US, it affects countries worldwide. 1. Impact on the US economy. While Trump's tariffs could generate about $250 billion annually, the overall impact on the US economy is uncertain. In the short term, some American industries might benefit, but the long-term effects are concerning. Here's why. Higher prices for consumers mean less money to spend elsewhere, possibly slowing economic growth. Job losses in certain industries, especially those that rely on global supply chains, could counterbalance the job gains in manufacturing. Retaliatory tariffs from other countries could hurt American exports, making it harder for US companies to sell products abroad. 2. Impact on Europe. Europe is not immune to the fallout from Trump's tariffs. If the US imposes higher tariffs on European products, industries like automobiles, wine, and agriculture could see a significant drop in demand from American consumers. Additionally, as trade wars escalate, Europe may find itself drawn into its own disputes with the US. This could lead to higher costs for European exporters, and the EU might respond with its own set of tariffs on US goods. 3. Impact on India. While India isn't directly targeted by Trump's tariffs, it could feel the effects in several ways. Trade disruptions caused by global tariffs could hurt India's exports, particularly in sectors like pharmaceuticals, textiles, and IT services. If other countries retaliate with their own tariffs, India could face higher barriers to entry in foreign markets. On the flip side, India might see an opportunity to strengthen its trade ties with the US as it seeks to capitalize on the shifting global trade landscape. Does Trump favor certain business tycoons? A big question on many minds. Does Trump's tariff plan favor specific business tycoons like Elon Musk or other high-profile CEOs? While Trump's tariffs were not directly targeted at helping individual business leaders, it's true that some companies, like Tesla, led by Elon Musk, have benefited from Trump's regulatory policies. Musk has been a vocal supporter of certain policies that align with his business interests, particularly those in the electric vehicle sector. However, Trump's tariffs were designed more as a broad protectionist strategy, rather than a way to benefit specific individuals. That said, certain sectors, like technology and electric vehicles, might have indirectly benefited from Trump's policies, as the US looks to strengthen its position in these growing industries. A divisive strategy with uncertain long-term benefits. Trump's tariff plan was an ambitious experiment aimed at reshaping global trade and revitalizing American manufacturing. While it led to some short-term job creation in certain sectors, the long-term consequences are still unfolding. Many economists argue that the costs of the tariffs, in terms of higher prices for consumers, job losses in other industries, and trade disruptions, might outweigh the benefits. As trade conflicts continue, the global economy will have to adjust. What's next for Trump's economic policies? Only time will tell. Will these tariffs remain in place, or will the US shift its approach to trade? We'll continue to monitor developments and bring you the latest updates. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to the KLM Institute for the latest updates on economics, trade, and global policies. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Trump's tariffs were beneficial in the long run, or do you think the consequences were too costly? We'd love to hear your opinion. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.